The following is a presentation of RMG Sports, award-winning championship television.
Defending series champion Terry Rinker has been perfect so far in 2006, winning the first two races in Bay City and Cincinnati. Can he do the same? Something he's never done before, win for the third straight time this weekend.
The Rinker Amsoil team is on a roll. We're going to keep it going, number one all weekend.
Surprising newcomer Brian Norman of Louisiana has shown he can make the transition from offshore to ChampBoat racing, sitting second in the championship. Can he continue the trend and challenge for the championship before the season's over?
We're not here to lose. We're not here to get second best or anything. We're a World Championship offshore race team, and we are a Formula One World Champion race team. We're going to win this championship.
Rookie Sean Torrente has done everything he can to win in 2006. While failing to finish a race this year, he led in Cincinnati before his engine failed him. Now 8th in the championship, can he get back into the title picture with a victory this weekend?
Absolutely. With Fred Bowden here, our team is complete, and we're going to get back in the championship with a win.
So drivers from 3 different countries have come to the upper Midwest for the 67th annual Minneapolis Aquatennial celebration. For some, it's time to soak up recent success, while for others, it's time to catch up in a hurry. While for most, it's time to bag another win. Mark it down as the third round of the 2006 ChampBoat Racing Series comes writing another chapter in racing history next. From the banks of the mighty Mississippi here in lovely downtown Minneapolis, it's round number 3 of the 2006 ChampBoat Powerboat Racing Series, the 10th annual Grand Prix of Minneapolis. Hi everybody, I'm Steve Michael along with my partner Wally Shaver. Glad to have you with us today on a picture-perfect day for racing. And it looks like Floridian Terry Rinker, who's got the pole today, Wally, is really trying to put the hammer down on the competition. He's already won the first 2 races of 2006.
Well, as snowbirds in Minnesota know, being in Florida in the winter is not a bad idea. Terry lives here. It gave him the opportunity to do a lot of testing in the offseason, and it's certainly paying off here early in 06.
Yeah, and an Illinois driver, Chris Fairchild, has had a miserable start of the season, but he's starting number 2. He's kind of turning around in his old hull, the 2003 boat.
The old backup sometimes isn't bad when bad luck is on your side. We know he's fast, and this is an opportunity for him to get right back in the title hunt, but he's got to start here today in Minneapolis.
A rookie, Uzo Ukawa from Tokyo, Japan, a surprising third on a steady run yesterday.
A 52-year-old rookie from Japan. He's seen steady improvement coming over here to North America to race and getting better every single week, and he's going to be a factor.
A dark horse today. We'll keep an eye on the man in the 8th spot. Sean Torrente, Rookie of the Year. He's won here before on this tour. Let's see what he can do today in Minneapolis. Should be a great day of racing. We'll come back and start things off when we return right after this timeout. The ChampBoat Grand Prix Series on Speed is brought to you by the all-new Rudy Revolution Sports Energy Drink, and by Amsoil, first in synthetics, and by Mercury Racing, where the race never stops. Welcome back to the land of 10,000 lakes. We're just north of downtown Minneapolis for the 10th Grand Prix of Minneapolis. And before we get down to the racing action for the weekend, let's give you a postcard view of this lovely area of the upper Midwest, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Grand Prix racing event here in Minneapolis is the second oldest in the annals of the sport. It goes back to 1983. We went around the paddock and asked some of the drivers if they knew their history. Chris, you think you know your history. Who won the very first race here in Minneapolis 23 years ago?
Chris Busch. No.
Chris Busch?
Busch? I don't know. Who?
Yeah, it was Rinaldo Molinari.
Yeah, it was Renato. Yeah.
Jeff, you know your history. Who won the very first race here in Minneapolis 23 years ago?
Mickey Mouse.
I have no idea.
Oh, I don't have that information. I don't know Steve at all.
Little Shearboats.
I don't know who won the first race in Minneapolis. Who was it? Tell me.
I think it was Ronaldo Molinari. Yeah.
Terry, you know your history? Who won the very first race here in Minneapolis?
I would guess it have to be Bill Siebold. He's the oldest guy I know.
But I'm pretty sure Chris Bush has won here before. But that's my final answer.
That'd be Bill Siebold, huh? I don't know. Who did?
A full day of activity on Saturday included a pair of heat races that would help determine pole position for Sunday's main event. Last race was Sean Torrente on the pole. Let's see who will lead the field for today's Grand Prix of Minneapolis. Starting in the fifth spot will be a disappointed Tim Siebold out of Osage Beach, Missouri in the Bud Light machine. Starting fourth is the rookie Jeff Shepard out of Tennessee, his best qualifying effort ever. In the third spot will be the Japanese rookie Uzo Ukawa from Tokyo, Japan, his best qualifying effort ever.
明日は 100% の力を出して走ります。
どうもありがとうございます。So tomorrow he wants to race, so his best and maybe 100%. His power and boat power and engine power, everything.
Starting second will be a very happy Chris Fairchild out of Chicago, Illinois. His best qualifying effort since Kankakee when he had the pole a year ago.
Today was a good day. We kind of jumped back into what we knew and loved, and we're going to put the Night Owl on hold for a little bit. We might throw it out in testing tomorrow morning because we're as good as we get. We can't do much better than we are, so we're very satisfied with our finish today.
And the man who really lit up the water for the second time in 3 races, he got the pole. Terry Rinker, he did a 34.07.
Yeah, you know, it's never easy, but we just got this thing running so good, and you know, a big thanks to the crew for setting me up with such a nice ride. You know, it's going to be, like I say, a battle tomorrow, and it's great to be back here in Minneapolis, too. This is just a wonderful sight.
Here's a look at the remaining lineup for today's 10th Grand Prix of Minneapolis. In the 6th spot will be Wyatt Nelson out of Syracuse, New York. In the 7th position will be the rookie Brian Norman from Louisiana. In the 8th position will be Sean Torrente out of Miami, Florida. In the 9th spot will be Randy Rinker from Syracuse, Indiana. In the 10th spot will be Lynn Simberger out of Elza, Illinois. In the 11th position will be Alan Big Al Robinson from Minneapolis. In the 12th spot will be Brian Benton from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And rounding out the field will be Mark Welsh out of Wayzata, Minnesota. There's your starting lineup for today's Grand Prix of Minneapolis. A familiar sight around the paddock for the past 25 years has been the Mercury Marine Support Vehicle. Let's take a tour with Mike Garraff.
Morning, Mike Garraff, Mercury Racing. This is our race support truck. Come on in, I'll show you around. Down here, what we have here is we have completely dressed power heads for the Champ racers, in which we have in stock, in which they can purchase or buy. These are fully dressed. All we have to do is mount them on the engine and away they go. Not only do we have power heads on board here, we also have gear cases. And let me tell you, they really came in handy last weekend at the Cincy race with all the debris in the water because of high water levels. The racers really needed these backups that we have on board here. All right, from the front end of the truck, we have a complete inventory of all the parts that racers might need. On the lower cabinets, what we usually is maintain the high volume moving parts. Anything from pistons, piston rings, we have gaskets, we have carburetor parts and jets. Basically all items that the racers at one point during the weekend may need. Not only do we have the parts, but we also have the apparel items and clothing items for the racers and the crews in which they can look good in Mercury Racing apparel. Cool, huh? Hey, it's race day here. It's going to get busy real shortly. Hope you enjoyed your short tour here, and we definitely hope you see you on race day. Take care.
Today we begin a new series in which we get to know the drivers just a little bit more in this series. Let's begin with last year's points champion, Terry Rinker.
Hello, I'm Terry Rinker from Tampa, Florida. I've been racing power boats for 23 years. When I'm not racing, I'm working on my race boat and occasionally get a short round of golf in. And on the street, I drive a Chevy 2500 heavy-duty 4x4. My favorite sport to compete in other than boat racing is amateur wrestling against old guys like me. And as a spectator, I loved watching my son wrestle the younger guys. One of my favorite movies I love watching over and over again, Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles. My favorite romantic getaway is cruising down the Intercoastal with my beautiful wife on that nice 23 or 25 foot Rinker cruiser. That's me, and this is my life.
So as Terry Rinker's boat heads for the water, we're set to go racing. We'll come back to the Grand Prix Minneapolis and start things off, and we return right after this. Time out. Welcome back to the lovely Mississippi River here in Minneapolis, just moments before we start the third round of the 2006 ChampBoat Grand Prix Series. As you can see, drivers now focusing in on the mission at hand. There's Sean Torrente, the driver out of Miami, Florida, hoping to move up from the 8th spot. Chris Fairchild and the man on the pole, Terry Rinker, would just love to make it 3 in a row. Let's take a look at the points as we get into this third round. You can see that the top 5 drivers are within 200 points of number 1. I'll tell you something, it's turning out to be a great championship this year. Let's take a look at the qualifying order for this afternoon. Yes, Terry Rinker, of course, on the pole. Keep an eye on boat number 34 down in the 8th spot. Sean Torrente, who led the last race in Cincinnati, is going to be charging up from the back. Wyatt Nelson could be strong in that 6th position. Seconds before the start, we hold our breath as we're ready for 50 tours around. The third round of the 2006 championship is underway, and Sean Torrente gets an ace of a start from the outside. He's got to maintain his lane as they make their way around the commitment buoy. It's Terry Rinker jumping out in front as he works his way down to the north side of the course around turns number 3 and 4. Now the field tiptoes their way through a very dangerous part of this race, but it looks like everybody's gotten through. And as they come by the start-finish line, we begin counting the laps this afternoon. Already, Terry Rinker building up an 8-boat-length margin. Chris Fairchild right there, right behind, trying to stay up there with him. Chris Fairchild, who has not won a race since Toledo back in 2004, in a great position this afternoon to pick up another career victory. Oh my, there's a problem in the back of the pack. Look at Uzo Okawa sliding over and almost touching Wyatt Nelson, and Uzo Okawa somehow teetering on the edge of disaster, gathered it back in and kept on going, but he's lost a couple of places. Early drama in this race here on the Mississippi in Minneapolis. As we go back to our leader, here's Terry Rinker exploding away out of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Chris Fairchild, however, looks like he's closing up just a little bit more as they come very close to the banking on the far side on the east side of this river. Into turns number 3 and 4. It's starting to churn up a little bit. Now remember, these drivers are flying these boats across the water at close to speeds of 130 miles an hour as we watch the rest of the field slide through. There's your leader, Terry Rinker, in that bright yellow boat. Here's Chris Fairchild, a driver who's been known for having very fast qualifying times. He struggled a bit here in 2006, but he feels like his older boat, which is a 2003 edition, could be the one that could bring him to his first victory of the year. As we pan out, you can see the top 5 boats coming through. Terry Rinker continues to hold on to about a 2-second margin as he works his way out of turn number 4. That boat built out of Alabama looks like to be in total control this afternoon. There you can see how much rougher it's getting now as Rinker launched the boat completely out of the water and gathered it back up. This is a totally enclosed canopy. Now, years ago, these drivers were driving out in the open, but they realized about 20 years ago it was safer to enclose the drivers in this cocoon or the capsule, and that protects them in case there is an accident if they do barrel roll. Terry Rinker is a wily veteran. He's been racing now in this series for over 11 years, and he came up in the SST 45s, and right now he knows how to guard his position in first place as he continues to hold off Chris Fairchild. There you can see Tim Siebold. He's starting to slowly move up now a little bit. He's a 4-time champion in this sport The Seabold family, with his brother Mike, who's not racing this year full-time, and his father Bill, who runs this team, have won over half the races in this 25-year history of the sport. Tim Seabold is trying to establish himself as a winner again, and in 2006, he hasn't done it in the first 2 races. Maybe today he can find that secret. As we watch Terry Rinker now on the side of the course on the front straightaway, you can see some of the thousands of spectators that have come from throughout the upper Midwest to watch this racing action. First time we've been back here in over a decade, and they are loving the racing this afternoon. Sean Torrente, the driver out of Miami, Florida, establishing himself on his rookie season. As we said, he started down in the 8th spot, but he's moved his way up farther than anybody else in this race, up 4 spots, and he's challenging Tim Seabold for 3rd. Back to our leader, Terry Rinker now. Chris Fairchild continues to ride in his shadow. He's still only about 8 boat lengths back, about 2 seconds. He hasn't dented any of the real estate. He's not getting any closer, but he's staying right within shouting distance, and that's exactly where he'd like to be. Terry Rinker so far this season has not missed a beat. He has kept this boat flying. So as we reach the halfway point of this race, the tens of thousands of fans that have come here are just loving the action here on the Mississippi River. Back with more as we conclude the Grand Prix of Minneapolis right after this timeout. Welcome back to Minneapolis in the 3rd round of the 2006 ChampBoat Grand Prix Series. As we watch dockside after 40 laps of the 50, as we wind our way into the remaining 10 laps of this event, Terry Rinker continues to lead off the pole, Chris Fairchild right with him, and Tim Seabold in 3rd. Here we can see our leader, Terry Rinker, now moving up and ready to lap Uzo Ukawa, who's in that 6th spot. So Terry Rinker has lapped everybody, and Uzo Ukawa's doing his best to hold him off. The driver, 52-year-old from Tokyo, Japan, looking strong all weekend long, almost blew the boat over early, and now is trying to hold on and move up a spot into that 5th position. But you can see how difficult it is for Terry Rinker to get around him. Uzo Ukawa hugging the inside lane, forcing Terry Rinker to go to the wide side, and thus having to take a longer route around the pins. He is looking strong right now, so it's no cakewalk for our leader, Terry Rinker, and as he struggles to get around him, the Japanese driver, you can see the rest of the field, Chris Fairchild, gaining a little space, as is Sean Torrente. He is getting very close now in that battle for 3rd as he was closing up as they come down that front stretch. You can see Sean Torrente loving to run to the outside. Seabold now feeling the heat from behind, almost in formation as they battle for the final podium spot. Sean Torrente right there in that red number 34 has not finished a race so far in 2006. Would just love to do it this afternoon. And Torrente using up all the water, trying to stay out of the spray, as the drivers do not want to close and get too close to the driver they're trying to pass. They lose the visibility as they get hosed down. Oh, you can't get any closer than this. Now Sean Torrente trying to move to the inside. Got his nose up on Seabold, but Seabold slams the door on him, and Torrente forced to go way wide here with just a lap to go. And Sean Torrente thought he had his chance. He may have run out of time in order for him to get on the podium. As we set up for this final lap, here's our leader, Terry Rinker, coming out of the final turn. Looks up, he knows he's only got one more lap to go, 1.25 miles to circumnavigate, and he will have won 3 races in a row here in 2006. But Chris Fairchild has not given up as he continues to close. Oh my, there could be some drama here on this final lap, but Chris Fairchild is going to have to turn it up with just the final straightaway to go. So as the battle for 3rd continues, you can see how much Tim Seabold now has gained on Sean Torrente. Torrente looks like he will not make the podium this afternoon. So back to our leader, Terry Rinker, circles out of turns number 3 and 4, looks up, and he can almost coast home as he comes across the start-finish line to take the checkered flag and to win for the 3rd straight time in 2006. He's had a perfect season so far, and Chris Fairchild gave him a strong battle today. Terry Rinker's your winner. We'll be back to hear from all the drivers who made it to the podium when we return right after this timeout. The ChampBoat Grand Prix Series on Speed is brought to you by the all-new Rudy Revolution Sports Energy Drink, and by AMSOIL, first in synthetics. and by Mercury Racing, where the race never stops. Welcome back to Minneapolis, and Terry Rinker, your winning driver for today's Grand Prix, gets the checkered flag ready for the lap of honor. Let's hear from the man who finished in third place, Tim Siebold.
The Bud Light crew did a great job. We ran into some problems this weekend, but starting from fifth, we had to put a prop on that accelerated really hard that would get us off the dock, and I knew it'd be a little short once everything stretched out and you got low on fuel, but that's what we had to do. We got third, and that was the best I think that we could do with the Bud Light boat today.
Here on the lap of honor, Terry Rinker with a checkered flag. Let's hear from the man who gave him a real run, Chris Fairchild.
Well, we had a good day. We had a good weekend, really. We pulled the 03 out. We took last year's horsepower, dropped it on the boat. It was what was working last year. My prop guy, DeWald there, came up with a prop that we really liked that we broke last year, and the new one's just as good. We're very satisfied. Our first two races haven't been good. My crew stuck by me. We kept working, and now we're right back on the podium.
And with his second place, Chris Fairchild right back into the championship picture. But let's hear from the man who won the race this afternoon, Terry Rinker.
We knew starting out front we needed to take advantage of that position, get a cushion, then we could take the safe route through the lap traffic, not have to take any unnecessary chances. Worked out to our benefit today to have that cushion.
Heading off to St. Louis at Siebold Country. Can you keep the streak alive?
I tell you what, there haven't been a lot of guys do 4 in a row. St. Louis is going to be a tough one. I'm sure the boys up there in that area are going to be gunning for me. But hey, we're going to keep the number 10 out front. You know, they say it's lonely at the top, but I tell you what, it feels pretty good to me.
Of course, all smiles in the Rinker camp as we take a look at the final results of all the drivers here today on the Mississippi. And it was a lovely afternoon, and you can see Brian Norman struggled at the very end. He only got 1 lap in the race, and he'll finish 13th. And the hard charger of the race award goes to Sean Torrente out of Miami, Florida. He went from 8th to 4th. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, we had one shot on him. I think it was like lap 48. Got up underneath him, was halfway by him, and just didn't have the legs to hold him off on the big end. He did a good job, and gave me about a half a lane to turn him, but did a good job, and we just couldn't get there.
So as the celebration continues, yes, Terry Rinker raising the cup over his head for the 3rd straight time in 2006. So here are the official points after 3 races so far this year. Sean Torrente moving up now into 7th spot after his 4th place position. Lynn Simberger in 6th. It's been a great day of racing, and we're heading off to St. Louis as we'll finish off the first half of 2006. Thanks for stopping by. For Wally Shaver, I'm Steve Michael saying so long from Minneapolis.